So this last week, and to set this up, we started talking about a bill that we started pushing last year here in Georgia. It was Senate Bill 88. It was tabled last year because there was a lot of things that people on the Republican side just couldn't come together on. Some people thought the bill needed to be stronger. Some didn't think it was strong enough, and so they tabled the bill for this year. So the way it works here in Georgia, though, so we had a special hearing on it with what the bill does. The bill, first, it requires, especially private schools, to allow parents to opt out of discussions on gender. And so if they need to approve on the curriculum. So if you send your kids to a private school, I think it's for public schools too, but I haven't gotten too far into it. I don't think it should discriminate on private or public school. But it requires you to be able to allow your child, you to opt your child out of any classroom discussions. Now, here in Georgia, the age that they set on it, though, was 16. So because the age of consent is 16 years old here in Georgia, over the age of 16 children, over the age of 16, those teens, I guess, would be allowed to make their own decisions when it comes to this type of stuff. But so the other part of the bill, though, also requires that schools notify parents of any gender issues. So not even just schools, though. It actually goes on to say anybody that is in charge of a child, if they are having gender issues, they are not the ones that are going to talk about those gender issues with the students. It actually gives a way to send them to a counselor, a trained counselor on this issue. And so there's a lot of discussion about that. Obviously, I am not I don't think that schools or anybody should be keeping children's secrets from parents. And there's a lot of reasons why. And that's the part of the bill that I testified on this week. So the way the process works here in Georgia, though, is you can pre-file the bill in November. So the bill's not even really in discussion. It's in discussion, but it's not even filed because we can't. So we can't file it till November, and then our session here doesn't start until January. And actually, from what I'm learning this year, this is really my first year working in state level politics. Georgia has actually a very small legislative session. And so like our session, I believe, ended in April. And so it starts in January, ends in April, whereas you see a lot of different, states still passing bills and everything like that. We're done for the year. We're not in session. We're not going to be in session until January, but we can start filing bills in November. Courtney says, depends on the counselor. If they're sending them to gender counselors, they'll only push them into this. And yes, the bill prevents parents from knowing is dead wrong. Yeah, I agree. That is one of those things. Is I've always said this too. Even with my testimony, I didn't say it in my testimony, but I'm like, children need psychological professional help if they're having issues with their gender. But I'm always cautious when I talk to parents. But again, this is if parents need to know, and parents need to get their children the help that they need. So if parents do their due diligence and question, they will take their kids to they will do their own research and get a good therapist that's not just a gender therapist, right? That's the key behind it all. But I'll play you my testimony because that's the part of the bill that I spoke on at this time. Obviously, we're going to work on this bill further going down the line because what we saw on Wednesday when we did this was that there was a lot of people that really, you could tell that they hadn't really read the bill. There was parents there saying acting like their children were gonna be erased because even though that they were accepting, I'm like, "Wait a second, you're accepting, so there's no issue, the school just has to notify you." I think that's where a lot of this stuff gets kind of miscommunicated along, along these lines because with these types of bills, if you're an accepting parent, you're not affected at all. Your child's not affected at all. And so I don't there was a lot of that miscommunication with what this bill actually does in the hearing. So when I spoke, it was kind of funny because I mean, I was there with the senator and the lobbyist who crafted the bill. Like they asked me to come and share. And so when we're waiting and I know I'm on the list, we're literally telling the head of the committee to call my name. He wasn't calling my name, but what I saw a couple people do was when their name was when somebody else's name was called, they would stand up and go say they're not here, and they said I could take their spot, and they would let them do that. So there was one point with about 10 minutes left in this hearing where I didn't think I was going to get to speak, and this would be the second time that I went to a hearing and didn't get to speak, because SB 140 that banned transition last year, I didn't get to speak up there because they never called my name, even though I was first on the list. So this would have been insane. So what I did, I told the lobbyist, I said, that was sitting next to me, I said, if, I said, I'm just going to stand up and go the next person that's not here. And she was like, okay. And so they called somebody, they weren't there. They called another person, they weren't there. And so I just literally said, I'll take it. I just got up and walked up and started speaking. And it was good. So here's my testimony though. This was fun. I'm here to speak in favor of SB 88. Having gone through the process of transition myself, I can tell you that it's not an easy process, and if a child is questioning their identity, then they need the help of a trained psychological professional. And it's parents' responsibility to make sure their child gets that care. Not as school teachers, not as schools, but the parents. And the fact is, teachers are not trained therapists, so they are not exactly trained to deal with true psychological phenomenon that is sexual confusion in children. And we know this happens in schools. We know what happens in schools when they keep secrets from parents. In the most extreme cases, we have what happened to a young girl in Florida, and you can look this up. A child's gender issues were kept with the parents because of their Catholic faith, if you can believe that. That child went on to attempt suicide twice in as many days, and the parents were left in the dark that their child was even having these issues. I know from y'all's advocacy for SB 140 that y'all care about youth suicide. So my question is, why would you think it's okay to keep these children from getting the help that they need and deserve? Parents are the only ones that can do that, and unless there is clear abuse going on, which the schools then have an action that they are dictated by law to take, then it has no right to keep that life-saving treatment from parents. So yeah, that was my testimony. It was fun. The thing about this is they actually only give you 2 minutes, and I used like a minute 18, so I was quick because I'm used to speaking. But yeah, I had a quick speech ready to go. I was asked to speak the night before and knocked it out. But again, this was just the first hearing. We can get more into we'll be getting more into the details as this thing goes on, as we start to introduce it to sessions and everything like that. Because the thing is, there was a lot of people there making a lot of emotional arguments that you heard the same things about people that were about youth suicides and how you're preventing these children from being who they are. You're putting them in danger, and how if they're not accepted, then they'll unalive themselves, and everything that we always hear. And so I wanted to point out that if they are so concerned about youth suicides, then they will actually look at what happens when you keep mental health care from these children. And so play to their emotions in this one. Um, I didn't really I was sitting in the front row, so I didn't really see, like, the death glares that I was getting, but I didn't get harassed on the way out, so that was good.